could barely control himself. Because it was at that moment that he realized that I had MS, that I actually had this disease. You know, when someone tells you you have it, it's one thing. But when you see it like that, there's no doubt in your mind. So that was his moment. That was his moment. And how he took that is in him, not me. But I recall a couple of hours later, the doctor coming by to see me and her asking me how I was, and I said, not very good, I can't move. And they had put me on Solumedrol. They hadn't actually started the Solumedrol yet. They told me they were going to put me on the Solumedrol, and at that time, whatever the heck that is. And it might make you jittery, it might make you this, it might make you that. Oh, okay, whatever. It may help you, it may not. We don't know. We're going to give it to you anyway. It's 1,000 milligrams. I didn't even have a clue what that meant, 1,000 milligrams of Solumedrol, for 5 days. Intravenously, every night, the same time. I said, fine. You know, I had to put my life in these people's hands. I didn't have a choice. I had to. And at one point, the doctor came into my room, and she said to me, we were just chatting, you know, and I got along really, really well with her. And the doctor of physical therapy who came in, there were two, to talk to me kind of about different things that they were planning for me at the time. They were planning to send me to the rehabilitation unit, and it was very difficult to get into, apparently. And they took a liking to me. They met my children and met my husband and met my family, and I think they kind of took it to heart. They felt the obligation. They felt like they could do something for me. If they could do something for me, they were going to do whatever they had to do that. And they were fantastic. And if you have MS, I will give you a big word of advice. You need the hugest support group you can get. Anyone that comes into that room that has anything to say to you, you take that in. I don't care if it's a sweeping person, somebody sweeping the floor in your room. Everyone has something to give you, and you've got to open up to it and be open to it. Well, I'll tell you, the doctor came into the room, and this will just show you how denial kind of, you know, how your brain has a very hard time accepting any kind of major diagnosis. Any kind of major diagnosis like this. Very hard time accepting it. And doctor came into the room, and we were just chatting, you know, whatever, about everything and how I was doing and things. And I said I was feeling a bit better. You know, I had eaten and everything, and I hadn't actually thrown up, and that was a good thing. Hadn't had a bowel movement, and all these things she was talking to me about, personal things. And then she went into different things about MS, and MS, and it was just, my brain, I just couldn't handle the amount of information I was being given. And I just looked at her and I said, you know what, yeah, I don't think you understand. I'm a busy mom. I mean, I can't have MS. I mean, I can't have MS. Weird things like this just don't happen to me. That's what I said to her. She said, oh, you mean weird things like flashing lights in your eyes for 2 years, fatigue, falling to the floor, not being able to move, being paralyzed, weird things like that? And it was as if she threw a brick at my head. I burst out laughing. I realized, oh my God. I realized at that point I was in such denial that I didn't even want to admit the absolute truth, was that I did have this disease and that I had to accept it. And if I was going to fight it, I had to accept it. And that acceptance, you know, I still have days sometimes where I don't accept it. Maybe that's why I'm making this video today. I'm having a bad day today. I have good days, I have bad days. Bad days I get little weird things like twitches, and get a little strange twitch in my eye, and very fatigued and an awful headache, kind of sick to my stomach, fluish feeling, weak. I get like that now and then. Even though I'm on probably one of the best medications that's out there right now, TYSABRI. I receive an infusion of TYSABRI once a month, and it's given me my life back. Not to say that it will to you. If you're out there, anyone out there, and you're on a medication that's working for you with your MS, you stick with it. The only reason why you would probably want to change your medication is if it's not working for you, and you and your neurologist will work together through this and make the decision that this is something that would possibly be beneficial for you. Of course, for me, it was extremely beneficial to me, and I went in there as total skeptic. I thought it would never work for me because I was on another medication for a while, and I didn't have any good results at all. My MRIs kept getting worse, actually, and I wasn't feeling better, and I wasn't even feeling sick from it like most people get. Could have been water, but I just continued with it until, you know, gave it a good try, and hopefully whatever medications you're on out there is working well for you. And if your medication is working, of course, you know, you don't want to upset the apple cart. Just stick with it if it's working for you. But if it isn't, and you are considering TYSABRI, of course, there's a few things you need to look into about it, because nothing comes without side effects, and nothing comes without risk. And of course, if you know anything about TYSABRI, you already know the risk of PML, and it is there. It is a virus that is contacted. It's a brain virus, and a very nasty one. But if you aren't walking, and you are in the hospital 12 times for 2 to 3 weeks at a time, like I was, in a matter of 2 years, or each year, you feel that is a risk that you're, well, at least my husband and I, when we discussed it, it's a very personal thing to make that decision. It's a tough decision to make. But if you are considering it, you need to learn everything you can about it, and know what you're doing, and know that when you receive your infusions, it'll probably be the most boring, uneventful 2 hours of your entire life, because you just go in for once a month, every 28 days, like a period, and you get an intravenous infusion. It's usually in your hand. They put the little IV in your hand. If you've ever had an IV, they'll put it in your hand, or sometimes they'll put it in your arm if they have trouble finding your veins, or they'll put it in your you know, where your arm meets your whatever. Anyway, they'll put it there, and you will get your infusion. And anyway, when I first went to get my infusion, I was in a scooter. I wouldn't go in a wheelchair because old people go in wheelchairs. So I had a scooter. I scooted